Jordan.
It's so nice to see such a big audience for, the panels about Bitcoin, about the Ordinal space. I just want to start, opening up by saying that it's really incredible to see how far this ecosystem and community went. Last year, Ordinals were only a very small part of this conference. I think they were like 2 side events. And here we are today, like 1 year later, and we have a BTC village. One of the main supporters of the conference is BLIFE, and we're here sitting and talking about Bitcoin and Ordinals is pretty crazy. So also a big thank you to all the builders, but also to all of you and the community that has made this happen. We wouldn't be here without you. And so it's a very proud moment to be here with these legends here on stage. So I'm just going to give a warm welcome to, first I'll introduce myself. I'm Camski. I'm the co-founder of the agency Mood Labs. And then next to me, I have Tosyo from Studio Yashico, Bruff, the legend, from Ordinalsbot and Trio. We have Jordan from BeLife and Bunzy from Omnisat. Welcome. So maybe for the ones that don't know them, we can go over and just give a little blurb about what you do and what your company has achieved in the Bitcoin space.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hey everyone, nice to meet you guys. I'm Tosyo. I've been in space for 2 years. Most of the people know me probably from Bitcoin Whales, but I pivoted from Studio Yashico just because I think it's essential to provide services to Web 2 and Web 3 companies. I believe that it's important to bring more value to the ecosystem and to the continuity of growth.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian. I go by Bruffstar on the interwebs. I'm the co-founder of Ordinalsbot. We were the first ever builder company in Ordinal space. We basically launched a tool to make it really easy for people to inscribe things on Bitcoin. And more recently, we launched our own marketplace called Trio. So we're really looking to try and bring communities and art and all sorts of cool collectibles to Bitcoin and offer a really cool trading experience. And super happy to be here at NFT Paris talking about Bitcoin.
GM. So Ben just spoke about it, about what Bitcoin is, so store of value. And at BeLife, we're really focusing on Bitcoin as being a store of culture. So if you really think about what's been happening, there's been art, there's been gaming, there's been meme coins, there's been DeFi in the past 2 years. And that's really what we want to push with BeLife is for anyone that doesn't know Bitcoin, there's Bitcoin the asset, but there's all the cultural part.
Yeah, I'm Bunzy, random guy on the internet with a mullet. And no, I'm a core contributor, co-founder with Hath here. He made it Omnisat, which we released a library called Laserize, which makes it extremely easy to come build on Bitcoin. Because right now there's a lot of friction there. There's not enough developer toolkits, so Laserize is just that. And we're also working on BeatBlocks, which is an efficient way to bring generative music to Bitcoin. So speaking of culture, that's one big element that's been missing is music. So yeah, that's it.
Well, the topic of our panel today is tech or art. So since the inception of the Ordinals protocol, there's been a lot of applications, there's been a lot of collections, art that have been inscribed on chain permanently, immutably. And I guess here we're going to be diving into what really is the future, or what should we be focusing on in the next, let's say, like year or so for the Ordinals protocol? Is it more going towards a chain for art, for collectors, for artists, or are we going to diving into more like the tech side? Do we need to focus on the innovation side of things, like working on infrastructure, ways to improve this protocol? And so I guess, I'm always curious on like what motivates founders and builders to actually join in and contribute to this ecosystem. And so we have founders here with us. You obviously have the choice. This is not your first rodeo. A lot of people coming to Bitcoin have been in crypto for a couple of cycles, or at least have experienced the, let's say, last cycle in NFTs on ETH and Solana. So what inspires you really to be part of this ecosystem? And I guess I see Bruff ready to take the mic.
Yeah, it's a great question, tech or art. I mean, I'm a designer by trade, and I really love art. I love traditional art, I love the digital art, generative art, you name it, I love it. And I think that all art belongs on Bitcoin, in my opinion. The tech side of Bitcoin and Ordinals specifically is interesting because when Ordinals launched, what actually happened was it became the most decentralized, government-resistant data storage that's ever existed. So if that doesn't have tech uses, then I don't know what does, you know? So I can see a world where, yes, all the art, bring it on, and that's what I'm passionate about. But I think that, you know, if you want to put stuff on chain that potentially, you know, you want to open source without any government taking it down, or you know, you want to just like put it there forever for like archaeology reasons, then Ordinals is absolutely perfect. We're actually working with Julian Assange project, basically called Project Spartacus, where we're going to put all of the Afghan war records on Ordinals. And previously they tried to host it on different servers and stuff, and just got a cease and desist letter, and all those logs get taken down. So if you put it on Ordinals, it can't get taken down, and we're doing it with a little collectible spin as well. So let's go.
I mean, we have the tech guys as well here. I'm curious to hear your point of view, though.
Yeah, what was the question? No, I'm just playing. No, Ordinals is like just technically there's a lot that needs to improve. Like I was mentioning the developer toolkit. When you go and build on Ethereum, there's libraries like WAGMI, Veeam, Solana even. You can get an environment spun up very quickly. But Bitcoin's not an EVM. You need to PSBTs. It's a very different approach. So developers not only have to shift the way they work with it, but there's just not enough toolkits available. So, you know, one thing that, you know, I think we're striving for, what Bruff and others have done, is make really easy inscription platforms and making it easier for people to come get involved because they see the value of it. Because we're kind of on the flip. Ethereum, the metadata was on chain, but the assets were off. Ordinals is the complete opposite. The asset itself is on chain, and now with parent-child, the metadata is as well. But that's the big phenomenon difference here, because metadata is cool, but if you can't reference the asset, what's good? The metadata is useless. So I know this is a NFT Paris, but like, you know, your assets aren't nearly as secure or what you think they are on Ethereum or other EVMs. So that's one major hurdle that I think once people get over that and can see that value, they'll really understand what's going on.
I mean, I am seeing some of the NFTs I bought, like in the last cycle, kind of disappearing, I have to say. I guess the project founders stopped paying for IPFS, so you're left with, you know, a little blank square. And, you know, unfortunately, this is going to be the future for a lot of these assets that we've been collecting over the years, unless, you know, the project continues, you know, to basically, you know, pay for these services, these cloud services as well. On Bitcoin, this is not the case, right? Like, we do have assets are inscribed on chain directly.
Yeah, the analogy I like to use is like, show me a link from 1993 that points to an image. They're all dead. All those servers are shut down and the images are dead. So unfortunately, that's going to happen to NFTs. And I love NFTs. I came from Ethereum, and I kind of done a 180 when I realized the value prop of Ordinals, and if this thing is actually on chain, I can pass this down to my grandchildren and it will still be alive. It's like, it was a no-brainer for me, basically. And I had a lot of speeches at this conference, you know, saying on chain. And I'm literally going to come back here next year with a T-shirt that says, your NFTs are not on chain, you know, because Ordinals are on chain and they're there forever.
What's the coolest thing you've seen so far, you know, happen on Bitcoin? I know, I mean, you guys have been inscribing for megas. There's been, you know, recursive inscription. There's a lot of like really cool stuff that has happened. I'm just curious, like, what is the coolest project you've seen? It can be like art, it can be tech.
I guess for me, the coolest inscription I've seen was from Quantum Cats, the evolving inscriptions. I think at that time, I was asking Ordinal if that was even possible. Then, yeah, they ended up pulling it off. So, you know, hats off to Quantum Cats when they did pull that off.
Yeah, I love anything that takes HTML and JavaScript, like Quantum Cats did, like Pizza Ninjas did. We worked with Trevor on that one. HTML and JavaScript powers the internet, and now you could put it in the collectible. It's kind of hard to do that on Ethereum. You can point to an HTML file. that HTML file could then point to a JavaScript file somewhere else on the web. But again, that JavaScript file won't be there forever. Whereas everything you do on Ordinals, if you're making an interactive collectible, everything has to be on-chain, from the JavaScript to the fonts to everything. Because Ordinals themselves can't point to the outside world. You can't pull in libraries. You have to inscribe every single component of it. And just to touch on that, what's really interesting about that is, for the last 2 years, people have been building really cool stuff and inscribing really cool libraries and fonts. But that's the thing, they're there forever now. Anybody can use them. We're essentially building a massive library of cool shit that anybody can use. And that's super exciting to me to say, like, in 5, 10 years, basically, like, all the JavaScript libraries, all your fonts on your computer, you name it, it's all got to be on Bitcoin, completely open source for anybody to use. I'm super excited to see what people build.
And also, there's something that really needs to be said. The Ordinals community has been really strong and has been really tight. You know, like, and it started in a very niche, you know, part of the ecosystem, of the crypto ecosystem, and it has grown to the point where we're here today, you know, and like the audience is like pretty much full. I'm just curious to see like what has been like your experience, and you know, in terms of being part of the community as well, other than just, you know, contributing from projects.
Yeah, I think I'll take this one. If you look at the bottom right, I don't know if you're familiar with this collection. It's called Bitcoin Puppets. And what do you think the price of that collection is worth? Do you think it's $5, 1 million?
Zero.
Zero? That would probably be the best answer. So at its all-time high was around $40,000. And the whole community has two mottos, which is like world peace and to zero. And I kind of want to take this moment to like, if you're coming to NFT Paris, you're also wondering like, why does this cost $1 million? Why does this cost 50,000? And we were talking about it last night, actually, with Good Things over there. There's a huge component that is attention and entertainment. Like, the Ordinals technology is amazing, and for those that are really interested, Bunzy and Bruff on the site, they're the best people to talk to. Coming to the Bitcoin Village, talking to Danny, talking to Vivid, you can go into the technical parts. But the reality is still, at the end of the day, the people that came to Ordinals, most of them at the very least, that bought a Bitcoin Puppet, that saw the price rising to 40K, that saw OMBs, they're caring about the price. And similar to the Bored Apes, because the price goes up, sometimes the art becomes better. And finally, on that point, I spoke with Cyber C last night about it, which is like, he's a really cool artist on Bitcoin. And what he said is, people focus too much on the visual, but they don't focus enough on what it represents. So Bitcoin Puppets would be community, but for others like this on-chain monkeys, this one was bought for 1 Bitcoin. And you probably can't see it, but if I showed it to you, you'll probably not put 1 Bitcoin into it. So I kind of want to make you think, why do people spend that amount of money? Is it because they love the art, probably like in the case of Vivid? Or is it because they want to make money? Or is there a deeper meaning behind it?
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, it's typically both, but one thing I want to highlight is community doesn't come out of anywhere. That word's thrown around so lightly, but if you really think about it, Ordinals was released as a protocol without foundation. Millions of dollars, sometimes billion, goes to builders, goes to all this stuff, all very fabricated. But the early days of Ordinals were just passionate people that came together. And when you think about that, the math is up only, because you don't have anyone to like pay back these foundations. You're not starting off with debt effectively. And it just started from zero. Everyone came with a passion, came with something they wanted to contribute. Of course, naturally, you know, it's an economic system, so now people are doing financial things, this, that, and the other. But when you start not with like, okay, come build this, we'll give you X amount of money, this is where true innovation happens, and that's why we're here, and it's Ordinal Paris now, you know, and that's something that's going to continue to grow because of the foundation that was laid.
Right. There's something to be said as well, like, and with increased demand for Ordinals, more activity, more volume, obviously the fees go up, right? Which makes sometimes trading quite pricey, and mainly like pricier than other chains. So the question is also like, also from a tech standpoint and builder standpoint, how do we scale the Ordinals ecosystem in a way that, you know, will benefit both the collectors and creators, and not just miners? Yeah,
I guess I can jump in this one too. Is people complain about the fees all the time, but it's a feature, not a bug. You need friction for any good like ecosystem. if you look at Solana, there's low fees. The amount of wash trading is ridiculous. The numbers that you're seeing are just not what the reality is. So I love Satoshi, like, it's a spam filter, if you think about it. The way fees are, if you don't have fees or anything to filter, you just get a bunch of garbage. You get a bunch of trash. And people, the thing about fees, I get it. It sucks when the mempool is extremely high, but you have to remember, what is the value proposition here? It is a decentralized, secure network. So if you're not willing to pay the fees, like, go play on a plastic chain. Go play on something that might not be here in a year, and like fuck around and find out, you know. But if you, but you know, that is something that I want people to consider. Is you are paying for literally, because Bitcoin can be denominated in electricity. There is something that it's backed by. It will never, rarely fall below kilowatt pricing, which is something, an RWA asset that people are familiar with. So you need those networks, you need the nodes, you need these things. And yes, we all want free stuff, but you know, airdrop season's over, it's going to zero. Like, just pay the fees. If you don't want to, participate somewhere else.
All right, you heard him. So back to like really interesting developments. I know that like earlier, like we spoke and Tosyo, you had, you know, some insights on like really interesting things that you saw developed. I know that you wanted to mention something about that. What is like also like one of the most interesting, you know, applications that you've seen developed on Bitcoin that you like?
Was it developed or that's about to happen? Can you refresh my memory?
Sorry?
Can you refresh my memory?
What's the cool stuff that you like on what have you been doing on Bitcoin? Are you degenning? What's the cool things that you see?
I mean, I've been low in the radar lately, but I think what's missing in the Ordinals protocol at the moment, though, is we need to bring the attention back to the Ordinals ecosystem. I know that, you know, some builders that I've known, you know, I just heard that they're pivoting to Ethereum or Solana. Nothing is wrong with that. It's just, you know, it's just that we just need to be more driven or hungrier. Like we're seeing, you know, other builders on different chains from Ethereum and Solana. You know, they're working their ass off, you know, for the past 4 years, more so. And I just think that it's an attention economy as well. You know, we need to bring the attention back to Ordinals, and that would involve whether it's tech or art, and it can be both. You know, it go both ways. So.
Right, and it's quite a difficult topic, right? Because at the same time, like we always say, the future is multi-chain, but that, you know, you also need people that are like very loyal supporters and are just maxis. Those are like really important. Without necessarily, you know, being blind to other opportunities in ecosystems. I mean, we're all here for different reasons and other incentives. So the question is, you know, obviously Bitcoin and Ordinals do have a higher learning curve, like a steeper learning curve when it comes to getting familiar with the ecosystems. There's a lot of technical terms that you need to be aware of, you know, to avoid, you know, getting sniped, or you know, when you're trading or buying an asset, it's not going to come directly in your wallet. You don't have, you know, if there's certain block times that need to pass. And I remember the first time buying a roller, I was like, where is it? You know, it's like it takes time for it to, you know, come in your wallet. These are all things that, you know, it takes time to learn. Again, you know, the community's there. Like if you have questions, you know, we have amazing founders that are very outspoken and are very present and, you know, are there to answer your questions. But again, you know, it's a matter of education, but also vibes at the end of the day. Like, let's not underestimate that.
Yeah,
So it's impeccable vibes, honestly. But yeah, I've got many Discord tickets to attest to what you just said there. Like, we were one of the first launch pads in the space, and we had some collections who were coming from Ethereum, some quite big Ethereum communities, and they wanted to just dip their toes in the Ordinals ecosystem. So, like you said, a lot of them were just coming thinking, oh, MetaMask, smart contracts, I get this. And then they're like, like you said, where's my thing? And that just, people get scared, right? You've spent money on something and it doesn't arrive instantly. That's a big, scary moment for someone. So there's definitely an educational piece that we need to try and get better at. But ultimately, any chain that you have to use, you need to learn it, right? I mean, I remember first time using Ethereum, like, what's gas? You know, and do I really trust this MetaMask thing? And like, you know, it's the same with Ordinals. And honestly, it's not so much different. Like nowadays, with wallets like Xverse, it's literally the same as MetaMask, right? You just put your seed phrase in, you connect, you top it up with Bitcoin, you go to a marketplace like Trio, which is mine. You connect with Xverse, and then you just buy something, literally like you would do on OpenSea. So the user interface is pretty much identical, but the underlying like tech is obviously just different. And yeah, you know, it's not easy to kind of teach people that, but like it's doable, you know.
Oh, sorry about that. I think the number one thing is be more curious. Because, you know, here at the Bitcoin Village, like, if you're interested in the difference between, for example, generative art and procedural art, you could talk to Vivid, you could talk to On-Chain Monkeys. If you want to know about why Leo worked 20 years as a sculptor and went on Bitcoin, what's the reason behind that? And going back to what I said earlier about the attention, it's like, why does this cost that amount of money? It really makes you think, even for the OGs that are there for 10 years, they might not have the answer, and I don't have the answer. There's many reasons. Some people like the art, some people like the code, some people like the significance behind it, the tech. And so that's just the one thing, is just be curious that there are finally things being built on top of Bitcoin. There's builders, there's art, there's gaming, and that's what we're doing at BeLife. So please come at the Bitcoin Village, talk with everybody, because just by being curious and asking questions, that's how we're going to progress.
And so, you know, this is obviously the first time that we're here, represented at NFT Paris, Ordinals Paris. We have a BTC Village. You know, the Bitcoin community has been like really growing into this like new burgeoning ecosystem. I'm very curious to see like how you all see the next year coming. Like imagine, you know, we're sitting here next year. Where is the ecosystem going to be at? Like, what's your prediction of the market?
I mean, I couldn't
NFA, your
Zero.
I couldn't be more bullish on Ordinals. Like, I've been so Ordinals focused the last 2 years. I have no idea what's happening on other chains. I was in Miami literally a couple of months ago at some meme coin parties, and I'm like, what's a bonk? Like, what's a bright? I've just no idea what these things are. I'm just so focused on Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, like, we were on a side event last year. We're on the main stage this year, and we're going to take over next year. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, if we're hovering around 100K and people are bearish, I mean, who knows what next year will bring. But, you know, one thing that we're embarking on is really trying to bring musicians, because visual artists have been the main people to get representation in crypto in general, because the ability to make a collection size, generally, you know, 10K, for example. A musician can write one song, and they can auction that one song. But when you open up the possibility for musicians to make generative music and make that, you know, more affordable for their price, for their fans to get entry price, now, you know, musicians can have the same capabilities that these visual artists have been able to have, because it's very hard to maintain a career as a musician. It's either touring, merch, and now generative music on Bitcoin makes a lot of sense, because before software, I was a musician. It's very hard touring, and you know, you don't make much money. Streaming is fugazi. It's like pennies. People think that Spotify pays out, but you know, it is something that I'm very passionate about. And now when I talk to musicians, I used to talk, because NFTs are like, yo, fuck, what do you mean? That's fake. But now that I say you can put it on Bitcoin, they're paying a lot more attention. Like, they're, oh, Bitcoin, they know what it is, the brand recognition, the security around it. It's not Solana, it's not Ethereum, a word they'd never heard. So I'm really excited. We say culture, community, like music has moved generations and have caused revolutions. And to bring that to Bitcoin, I'm very excited, and I think next year will be a very big year for that.
Yeah, music is insane. Yeah, clap for that. Like, shout out to Violetta Zaroni as well. She sold a song on Bitcoin for 1 Bitcoin a couple of months ago. So music is, yeah, I can't wait to see it on Bitcoin. And what you're building as well is actually a library, right? So like, it's components. Like like I mentioned earlier with the JavaScript, when you put certain beats or sound effects or whatever it is on chain, it's there. Anybody can use it, and the more people that start using it and keep going and building, you've got to build this massive library of stuff that you can just make epic songs from. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, that's what's another cool thing is like you said, anything that goes onto Ordinals becomes open source by nature, just because it's public. But yeah, BeatBlocks is just a protocol. Like, we did this for musicians, by musicians, and it's if anyone has questions, like please feel free to ask, and like because we want to bring that onto Bitcoin. And the generative approach is a really fun, different way. Like a way to think about it is a musician can go into the studio to write a single, an album. Now they can go in and add to their discography like a generative piece, which is a super cool paradigm because it's just something that isn't fully explored. And yeah, so any musicians in the crowd, please reach out. We're happy to help you guys out.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what Bunzy said. Sorry about that.
Hey, man.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I made a mistake. But yeah, speaking of music, we were just catching up last time. I think for the next year for Ordinals Protocol, we're gonna see a big growth when it comes to IP because we do need that attention going back here, and we're gonna see more collaborative work with with amazing builders right here, right? And also, it's just it's what we need for Ordinals,
Yeah, you mentioned IP. I'm so bullish on IP as well. Like we're actually launching the Elvis collection in a month or so, and it's official stamped Elvis Estate collection. The artist is Joe Petruccio, who is he's been signed off as you can do anything you want with Elvis's image. So again, we're bringing IP to Bitcoin. I was in Japan last month, and Japan is and Tokyo is the most insanely creative place I've ever been. And there's so many IPs in Japan. You're talking Nintendo and Pokemon and you name it. There's a million of them. I'm just dying to bring them all to Bitcoin because that's the stuff you can collect and then keep in your wallet forever.
I kind of have a hot take on IP. I think IP is worthless in a digital future that we're headed. And
just forget what I said.
I mean, come on.
This
For
is
what
a
it's worth.
different
Come on, we need
panel.
something here. But no, we're moving towards a digital future where we want people to promote our things, right? We're like, oh, make memes of this, do this, make content and spread it. It's already online. But then think about it. Subconsciously, you're telling people that hold it, don't make something too good, because if it's too good, I'm gonna sue you. So people are gonna limit what they're going to create. And don't get me wrong, IP is great. I'm an artist, and whatever. That aside, what I'm saying is think about someone like Banksy. If you've done your job so well, all roads lead back to you. You don't need IP, you don't need lawyers. We created Bitcoin to move away from a broken system. Just to bring lawyers back into it seems redundant.
I'm just going to go home.
I mean, I agree, but just for the sake of it, I'll go the opposite direction. Why not? I think it's more about a lot of people that come in NFT pairs, if they're not Bitcoiners and OGs, they have no freaking clue what Ordinals are. And that's why we say sometimes it's NFTs on Bitcoin, and obviously OGs or Bitcoiners would hate that description, right? But I think I've onboarded a lot of friends to Bitcoin, and the first question is this is so freaking complicated. And this is why we've seen an increase in builders, and this is why it's so important to keep going that direction, because do you even know what wallets exist on Bitcoin? If you're not on Bitcoin right now, if you're on Solana and ETH, do you even know how to trade on Bitcoin? Ben talked about Odin earlier. It's a great platform to do trading of meme coins. Do you even know what type of wallet? How do you do a bridge? What are fees? What is the meme pool, etc.? And so it's our job to do the educational part, but it's also, as I said earlier, it's your job to be curious and understand that there's an incredible potential. Maybe it's the fit for you. Maybe it isn't. But Bitcoin is going up. There's an interest in the world, so why not be interested in the cultural part, the music and the art, the gaming and all that stuff?
Well, most of us, at least, our crypto journey started with Bitcoin, right? So I feel with all this development, at least, it's kind of all roads lead back to Bitcoin. We've gone through the cycle, and now it feels like we're going back to the mother chain. And again, there's beautiful things happening. Beautiful art collections, music, drops, PFPs, communities growing. So again, if you're an artist in the room and you want to start creating on Bitcoin, I mean, these are the people you need to speak to. If you want to describe things, these are the people you need to speak to. They're here, we're there to help you. There's a lot of beautiful things that can be created, and the community is great. So anyways, I'm gonna wrap up because I see Tim already. We're way over time. We were about to start another panel, by the way, on IP. But I will.
I'm really looking forward to IP on Bitcoin.
If you need IP, I'm a lawyer.
There you go. But
yeah, I'm kind of heavy on
I
IP.
think we need to close this. They're gonna kick us out. Anyways, like thank you so much for everybody that joined us and listened to us. I hope you learned something. I hope you got inspired. Like check these guys out. And I want to say a big thank you to Tosyo, Bruff, Jordan, and Bunzy for being amazing speakers here with me tonight.